Hello, my lovely people. It's your host, Simple, once again, and welcome back to SmartSportStudio, where we don't just say they won. We tell you how they won, why they won, and what it means when the table starts getting tight. Because this update is simple on the scoreboard, but sneaky deep in the details. Everton 0, Manchester United 1. And the headline is this: United didn't win with fireworks. They won with survival, timing, and one ruthless counterpunch. That felt like it came from a team learning how to win ugly, which, by the way, is a compliment in title-chasing football. Let's set the scene. This was played at Hill Dickinson Stadium, Everton's new home, and you could feel the emotion in the place. United came into this with momentum under their interim boss, and you could see the confidence, but you could also see the challenge. Everton didn't let United build pretty patterns. They pressed, they tackled, they disrupted rhythm. And for long stretches, this game looked like a street fight dressed in Premier League kits. Now, tactically, here's what made it interesting. Everton weren't trying to outpass United. They were trying to outfight them, drag them into a messy rhythm, win second balls, and win territory. And force United into uncomfortable decisions. And honestly, for most of the first half, that plan worked. United had spells of possession, but not much clear penetration. Everton had set pieces, corners, and moments where you could tell the home crowd was waiting for one big chance to explode. It wasn't end-to-end entertainment. It was tension football, the kind where every loose pass feels dangerous. Next, we look at the game's turning point, the substitution that changed everything. And then we get to the game's turning point: substitution and momentum. Around the hour mark, United made a key change. Benjamin Šeško comes on, and immediately the game changes shape. Because Šeško gives United something they didn't consistently have before: a direct running threat that forces Everton's backline to turn and run. And this is where the big lesson comes in. Sometimes, football is not about dominating possession. It's about introducing a problem the opponent cannot solve in real time. Everton were comfortable battling United in front of them, but the moment Šeško entered, Everton had to worry about what was happening behind them. That's when hesitation starts. And hesitation is where goals are born. Now let's talk about the goal, because it was the definition of one moment, one punishment. Second half, United win the ball and break with speed. Bryan Mbeumo carries it and holds it just long enough to wait for the option. And Šeško, listen, Šeško doesn't jog into position. He eats up the pitch. He makes a lung-busting run, basically telling the midfield, if you can see me, you must play me. Mbeumo slips the pass. Šeško finishes. Boom, 1-0. And that's not just a goal, that's a statement of mentality. Because in a game where chances were limited, where both teams barely touched the ball in dangerous zones, United found the one clean counter moment and executed it like a top-4 team. Now, Everton didn't collapse after the goal. They pushed, they threw bodies forward, they tried to turn it into pressure time, and they had moments where you thought, okay, one header, one scramble, one rebound, and this is level. But United's defensive work was serious. They dealt with waves of corners. Everton had a lot of them. And United stayed composed, cleared their lines, and protected the central corridor. This is the part fans don't always hype, but coaches love: game management. You could also feel Everton's frustration growing. Not because they were terrible, but because it felt like the harder they worked, the less clean their final ball became. That's what happens when you're chasing against a team that's comfortable sitting in the result. And United even had moments late on the counter where they could have killed the game, including a break where Šeško is denied. And a couple of shaky transitions where one poor pass either way could have flipped the story. But it finishes Everton 0-1 United. So what does this mean for the table? This win moves Manchester United to 48 points, and that's massive for the top 4 race. It's not just 3 points, it's positioning. It puts United inside the Champions League places, and it opens a gap over the chasing pack. Chelsea and Liverpool are sitting behind them on 45 points, which means this wasn't just a win. It was a separation win. Those are the ones you look back on in May and say, that was the night we created breathing space. And for Everton, they stay on 37 points, sitting in that messy mid-table zone where you're not panicking, but you're not relaxing either. Because mid-table is a trap. Lose 2 in a row and suddenly you're looking over your shoulder. Win 2 in a row and you're dreaming about pushing upward again. Now, let's get into the deeper tactical truths from this match. First, United are learning how to win ugly. Big teams don't always play well, but they still win. And that's exactly what happened here. United weren't silky for 90 minutes, but they were resilient. They stayed in the fight, and when the one moment arrived, they punished. Second, substitutions mattered. Šeško off the bench changed the game. He didn't just score, he changed Everton's defensive behavior. He forced them deeper, forced them to hesitate, and created the conditions for that counter. Third, Everton's problem wasn't effort. Everton competed with intensity, but their final action lacked precision. They had pressure moments, but not enough clean finishing. Intensity without clarity becomes almost. Next, we dive into the narrative and psychology behind this game. Now let's talk narrative, because football is also psychology. United right now look like a team that believes. That's dangerous for everyone chasing top four. You can see the group buying into the idea that they can grind through hard games, not just entertain. And Everton, despite the loss, will take something from this. They can go toe-to-toe physically with a top four contender. But they must find more quality in the final third because stadium energy doesn't count as a shot on target. Now, what's next? Everton head to Newcastle next, which is another tough one because Newcastle are intense and aggressive, especially at home. Everton will need to turn performance into points soon. Manchester United, meanwhile, go home to host Crystal Palace. And here's the key. These are the matches United must now handle like a Champions League team. Because once you break into top four, the pressure changes. It's not, can we catch them anymore? It becomes, can we hold them off? And that's a different type of stress. So let me ask you, family, and I want the whole comment section cooking on this one. Was this a professional away win from United, or did Everton actually deserve more from the game? Drop your thoughts. Like the video. Subscribe. Family, let us analyze something deeper. Nobody seems to be talking about. Same players, different manager, different results. Manchester United under Carrick suddenly looks structured, confident, efficient. Under Ruben Amorim, same squad. Confusion, inconsistency, frustration. So the big question is simple. How can the same players look average under one coach and organized under another? Let's break this down properly. First, football is not just about talent. It's about clarity. Under Amorim, United tried to install a very specific system. Structured build-up, positional rotations, aggressive vertical patterns. But systems take time, especially when players are used to something else. And here's the key problem. When players are thinking about structure instead of reacting naturally, performance drops. Under Carrick, things look simpler. Fewer complicated rotations, less positional overthinking, more emphasis on balance and spacing. Carrick has essentially reduced cognitive load. And this is crucial. Elite footballers perform best when they play instinctively. If you overload them with tactical layers too quickly, especially mid-season, execution becomes hesitant. Hesitation kills rhythm. So what are we actually seeing? We're seeing clarity over complexity. Second, dressing room psychology. When a new manager arrives like Amorim, there is pressure. Pressure to adapt. Pressure to implement identity quickly. But when results wobble early, confidence dips. And once confidence dips, even good tactical ideas look broken. Carrick's approach has been different. He hasn't tried to revolutionize. He has tried to stabilize. Stability creates trust. Third, role definition. Under Amorim, several players were asked to operate in roles that didn't fully maximize their natural strengths. Under Carrick, roles appear more defined and traditional. Fullbacks defend first, overlap second. Midfielders hold shape before roaming. Attackers press with triggers rather than constant chaos. Sometimes players just need to know exactly where they stand. And Carrick has simplified responsibilities. Fourth, in-game management. Under Carrick, changes feel reactive to game state. Under Amorim, changes sometimes felt system protective rather than momentum-driven. System protection says, we maintain identity. Momentum management says, we win this game first. Right now, Carrick is prioritizing momentum. Fifth, expectations and emotional temperature. Amorim arrived with identity expectations, big system, big philosophy, big transformation. That creates scrutiny. Carrick returned with lower external expectation, and lower expectation creates calm. Calm environments allow players to breathe, and when players breathe, they perform. Now here's the important part. This doesn't automatically mean Carrick is the better long-term coach. It means timing matters. Amorim may be a better architect. Carrick right now is being a better mechanic. One builds a long-term structure, the other fixes what's immediately broken. And sometimes, football seasons are about immediate fixes, not blueprints. Another layer: intensity versus control. Amorim's teams historically play aggressive vertical football. That demands physical synchronization. If conditioning isn't aligned yet, you see stretch transitions and vulnerability. Carrick's version right now looks slightly more controlled, less chaos in transitions, slightly deeper defensive line, more compact midfield distances. Compact teams concede fewer high-quality chances. That alone changes results. Now let's talk player comfort. Footballers are human. If a player feels uncertain about his role or position, performance tightens. Carrick appears to be offering reassurance and trust. You can see body language differences, more communication, more visible cohesion, fewer panicked clearances. Confidence changes small margins. Small margins decide matches. Now here's the big psychological twist. Sometimes, when a tactical project fails early, the squad subconsciously resists the method. Not intentionally, but emotionally. Results validate belief. Poor results erode it. Carrick's early positive results have rebuilt belief. Belief multiplies energy. Energy increases pressing intensity. Pressing intensity wins second balls. Second balls create chances. Chances create goals. Goals create belief again. It's a loop. So what's really happening? It's not magic. It's clarity. It's simplification. It's emotional reset. It's game state management. It's trust. And most importantly, it's momentum. Now the dangerous part for United is this. If Carrick continues delivering results, the board faces a dilemma. Do they revert to the long-term system architect? Or do they reward the stabilizer who restored control? And that becomes political as much as tactical. So here's my question to you. Is Carrick proving that United didn't need a tactical revolution, just stability? Or are we watching a short-term bounce that will fade once opponents adapt? Drop your thoughts. Like the video. Subscribe. Because at SmartSportStudio, we don't just look at who won, we analyze why they won. I'm Simple, and this debate, it's just getting started. Stay smart, football family.